Well, I told the captain I'd have this analysis done in an hour.
How long would it really take? An hour? Oh, you didn't tell him how long it would really take, did you?
Well, of course I did.
Oh, laddie, you've got a lot to learn if you want people to think of you as a miracle worker.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are Star Trek veterans, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 6 episode Relics. Original air date is October 10th, 1992, and as always we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so the Enterprise is like, I wrote Enterprise is cruising. Okay. Data has identified a signal from the USS Jenolan, a Federation transport ship reported missing 75 years ago. They stop. Big shake, strong gravitational source in the vicinity. Then we see a big gray planet. It's called the Dyson Sphere.
Yeah.
Okay, this is directly from the episode. In the 20th century, a physicist called Freeman Dyson postulated the theory that an enormous hollow sphere could be constructed around a star. This would have the advantage of harnessing all the radiant energy of that star, and any population living on the interior surface would have virtually inexhaustible sources of power.
So, Dory, for the record, that's a real theory that someone came
Okay, because I meant to look it up and I forgot.
And
Yeah.
to be
Also-
fair, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that what's in the episode is technically not a Dyson sphere. It's a Dyson shell, I believe.
Yes, that's
Because
It's,
if I remember
to me-
correctly, a Dyson sphere isn't like a solid shell. It's like, it would be like rings or like sections around a sun.
That's what I was gonna say. So
sorry.
The way that Freeman Dyson put it was he first theorized a Dyson ring, which would be like halo essentially, except around an entire sun, and it would be it would rotate, around itself essentially, like in its own orbit, but it wouldn't really have to move. It would just like rotate in one spot. And from there, the spheroid portion was several rings, and they would have been like several rings in like not a helix, but in like a sectional sphere. And then the Dyson shell was the theorized final result of all of this. Now that said, Freeman Dyson did watch this episode and flat out said, okay, this would be impossible, and the way that you guys have very weakly gone into it is not what would happen in the like very, very slim chance that this could ever happen.
Wait. He was alive during this?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That is the worst oh my god.
But
they got dunked on so fucking hard then. If they're talking about him and he's like,
No.
Oh no.
He also said, but the way they did this for a science fiction show was really cool, and I'm glad to see that my work is being recognized.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you had me there for a second.
He died in 2020.
There you go.
What?
Yeah, he was 96.
Yep.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah.
Born in 1923.
So,
Yeah.
for the record,
Wild.
the Dyson ring is the one that he theorized would be the most likely to actually exist in any way. He had another name for it. I don't recall what the name is, but people call it a Dyson ring. And the amount of like sheer resources that you would need just to construct that, as he theorized, and he theorized this as well, would basically require a civilization to be at its apex in terms of technological advancement. Like, this is so far beyond anything that we can imagine to do technologically that it is indistinguishable from magic.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, it's something along the lines of like, in order to pull off like building this thing, you basically would need to have the energy and resources of someone who had already built it.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what he said, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's
is wild.
I mean, again, it's like a theory that he was postulating for the heck of it.
Yeah.
And he wrote about
If
it
you've-
because he's a theoretical scientist.
Yeah. Dory, have you ever seen a gyroscope?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I'm gonna
okay.
Google that right now,
Yeah.
because I might not know it by name.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry. What gyroscope?
Yeah. GYRO scope.
Ooh, like for food?
That would be Euroscope.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what
I
a
don't
Dyson.
know if I've seen one. I don't know if I've seen one in real life, but I do know what these are. I have seen
Yeah,
them.
so like those rings that kind of like spin around each other, that's kind of what he was envisioning, like the
Gotcha.
rings would be like around a sun.
Yeah.
So there is a specific reason why they said the sphere in the episode it's the approximately as wide as the Earth's orbit around the sun. Because that's generally considered to be like the sort
Safe
of
zone.
the safe zone, the habitable zone is our orbit. So that's probably why they chose that specific number to go with.
Yeah. It is really like cool and wondrous to imagine it existing. It's too bad the episode didn't really do much with it besides, oh my god, it exists. Because
Yeah.
the society required to build something of that magnitude would honestly have to be something that people had heard of. There would be absolutely no chance that there would be no evidence of them anywhere else in the galaxy and that they would never be mentioned again.
Yeah, in the Star Trek universe, definitely. Because as you were talking, I was thinking like, well, technically, because everything's so far apart, it is possible for them to have like, gone unnoticed. But then I remembered this is Star Trek. All right.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the distances aren't as insurmountable as it is in real life.
Nope. Nope. And also this is in, well, not the middle of, but it's like within reachable Federation space. And they have contacted so many
Yeah.
different species.
Yeah, if they had the tech to build this thing, then, Yeah, I think they probably used Dyson Sphere just to give it sort of a, just to include something that was, like, modern and current.
Yeah.
And-
Also, they wanted something scientifically magnificent.
Yes, yeah. Anyways.
Actually, last note before we move on, and Dory, you might find this a little bit amusing, but essentially the kind of species that would have the technological capability to build a Dyson Sphere would not be stupid enough to build it around a star that's about to kill them all.
Yeah. Although we don't know how long the Dyson Sphere's been there.
No, that's a good
Or-
point.
I also was like, who the fuck built this?
And you
Oh,
never
yeah.
find out.
Yeah.
It's your standard long lost alien species.
Yeah, like the
Of course.
Iconians, except you know nothing about them.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna assume it was made by a crystalline entity. Or just a light creature or whatever, because they love that on the show.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I also, in my notes, just started calling the Dyson Sphere the Death Star. It just looked like the Death Star
Yeah.
of Star Wars.
Okay, isn't it? It
okay.
isn't a Death Star just because it's a sphere. God.
It literally, well, it looked like it for me. Okay. So they're like, oh, possibly people on the planet. Worf has located the distress signal coming from a point in the northern hemisphere. So the Enterprise goes to orbiting the Death Star. And then there is a shot of the Enterprise orbiting the Death Star for 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's a pretty long
timed
shot.
it. That was surprisingly long. Like, I sat through it and I was like, why what was that? And then I went back and then timed it. And it was like 20 full seconds.
You know, it's hilarious.
What?
Is that there's a original TOS actor in this episode, and I don't know. This is probably like just me making connections, but in the first TOS movie, there's also a very famously long shot of them touring around the new Enterprise. And I think it goes on for like 5 solid minutes or something like
it's
that.
7.5.
Oh, geez.
Whoa.
I was like highballing it.
Whoa.
Wow. Yeah, 7.5 minutes that they're just in a shuttlecraft, like, looking at the Enterprise.
There's also
That's-
if you watch the director's cut version of it, there's a several minute overture at the beginning of the movie that's just a blank screen while music plays.
Oh, yeah,
And I don't,
about
like,
that.
it's before the title. It's just black and music is playing, and apparently people who saw this version of it in a theater at whatever point were honestly wondering if something was wrong.
That's
Wow.
fair.
Yeah.
How long does that go on for?
At least a good 3 or 4 minutes.
That's a long time.
It is, because it's an entire track of the soundtrack.
After like 30 seconds of pure black screen with just music, I'd be like, is there something going on here or what?
Yep,
Yeah.
I know.
And it goes on for like 3 minutes? Jesus.
Wild.
Anyways,
Okay.
sorry to derail.
No, that's okay. Okay, so Data has located the Janolan, the ship. It is impacted on the surface of the sphere. No life signs. However, there are several small power. What the fuck did I write?
Probably
Emanation?
emanations?
Is that a word? I don't know if I read
Yeah.
that correctly.
I don't know if that's what he says, but emanations is a word. It's like,
Okay. I wouldn't know that word, so he probably did say it then.
do
'Cause I'm
you
not
know
familiar
the
with
word
that
like emanate, like in general?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's like to give off, like, so electrical,
Oh, I didn't realize
like,
emanations. So.
yeah.
I know emanate, but yeah, the emanations. Okay, yeah, so they small emanations and life support still functioning on a minimal level. So we get the away team, which is Geordi, Riker, and Worf. And they talk about some tech and system shit that, like, I don't care about. I'm like,
There's a lot
it
of
doesn't
tech in the
matter.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, it doesn't matter. It's not relevant to anything.
That's
true.
none of my business.
Yeah. Oh my God. I saw a TikTok yesterday or something that this woman was like, everyone is always like doing 2 + 2. Why can't they do 5 + 5 and tend to your own business? And it's like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love that so much. So that was great. Okay, so yeah, tech stuff. Oh, someone is possibly stuck in the transporter buffer for 75 years. That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So then we get an old guy looking kind of confused because they like basically let him out. And then he starts talking. So I'm like, oh, because he's got a Scottish accent, I'm assuming this is Scotty.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but there's another guy. We got to get Matt Franklin. Rip to Matt Franklin, I guess.
Dude, Franklin gets...
Sorry, Matt.
Franklin gets, like, more respect than any off-screen dead character that we've seen in this whole series.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. So he introduces himself. His name is Montgomery Scott, which, okay. I didn't realize that was his first name. He goes, he likes the Enterprise. Okay. Nope. I read that wrong. Scotty is like, I knew Kirk would like come looking for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Riker's like, about that.
Yeah, Kirk, sure, buddy.
It was very, very awkward.
Yeah.
So then Scotty is really shocked to see Worf for reasons I understand. Mm-hmm. Look at me go. But he's also not a dick about it, which was nice. He just was like, oh,
He's
okay.
surprised, yeah.
Yeah. And I did note that Scotty's outfit is truly like a mashup of like Han Solo and Steve Zissou.
That is actually his outfit from the Trek movies.
I stand by my statement.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so basically he explains, okay, Geordi showing Scotty engineering things was very adorable. Okay, so he explains, like, on their way to the Norpin colony, they experienced warp engine failure, had an overload in one of the plasma transfer conduits, and then the captain brought them out of warp, hit some gravimetric interference. I don't know if I spelled that right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Gravity sounds good.
gravimetric is probably the word they use, yeah.
Okay. And it's the Dyson sphere, so they surveyed the surface, completing initial orbital scan, then aft power coil suddenly exploded. The ship got caught in the sphere's gravity, and they went down. So then he locked himself, got in the transporter into the diagnostic cycle so the pattern wouldn't degrade, then cross-connecting it with phase inducers to provide a regenerative power source. And Geordi's like, that's amazing, incredible, fantastic, amazing. And, so then, like, now Scotty's 147 years old. Good for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was actually heading to the colony to retire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he would be doing, if not the same thing that he was doing the last 75 years as he
Yeah.
at the colony. He would just be hanging out, right?
Probably. I mean, he wouldn't be hanging out as a USB stick, but still.
Yeah.
And he'd be dead.
Yeah. Okay. Picard, such a fucking fanboy. I swear to God, he's like, probably has like his own bingo card of like the like
original series.
Enterprise, that he's met. He's like, okay, well, got Spock. We had what's his face in the first episode, and now we got number 3. He's like, who else can I get in weird circumstances?
I would like to say that TNG at this point in the series has really come a long way, because in the first episode where they they briefly have McCoy on screen and won't even use his name, to now flat out doing an entire episode that is specifically around an original series character. They would not have done this in the early seasons. They would have outright refused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then Picard's like, oh, please tell me all about your career. And Geordi's like, oh, well, I'm off to engineering. And Scotty's like, oh, I thought you would never ask. But he's not in like the best shape yet. So everyone's like, maybe no. But he's like, I don't care.
I love how he's getting up and super excited, like a pet.
Yeah. Dr. C's like, oh, you need rest. I'll get someone to take care of you. And I was like, it better not be Troy. Troy is not the resident babysitter. Stop giving her people to watch over. It's not, thankfully. It's nobody. Nobody watches over him. It's Troy or nobody. She was busy, I guess. So then there's a random guy. He gets to do it, but then it was very short-lived. Mm-hmm. Random guy showing Scotty how like the replicator works. Scotty
and he is very
not into it.
Yeah, and the guy like who's showing him around is very disinterested. He wants to get out of there like so fast.
He's got shit to do.
He's like,
yeah.
He's like, who's this boomer I'm hanging out with right now?
Yeah. It's like, dude, you're a fucking ensign. Like, what else do you have to do? But, like, this is, like, a pretty, like, sweet assignment to be given to an ensign to, like...
Literally a living legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, here, be the escort, and where you get to talk to this fucking, like, really famous guy.
Yep. But he's like... No, I've got stuff to do, like nerd stuff.
I mean, I did say that, like, look how far TNG has come in terms of like embracing its own Star Trek legacy, but also you have to look at the fact that this is like really the first time that it is going in and embracing it to this degree, where it has built its whole episode around him, and they're still trying to make it out like, no, this is a big universe. There's other stuff to do besides this. This isn't just an excuse for a cameo, so not everyone's going to be like jacking it over it.
Yeah. Okay, so then Data sends out probes to survey the Death Star, and they're trying to figure out if there's people there. There's not.
Spoiler, there's not.
Yeah. They're like, Scotty, please don't fucking touch shit, because he keeps touching shit in engineering, and like alarms go off, and it's like, bro, you don't know this stuff. Keep your hands to yourself right now. And I wrote, bro needs to take a seat in a juice box.
Yeah.
He does take a different kind of juice box later, but you tell like Geordi is getting like very frustrated very quickly, and he's like, listen, I would love to explain all the shit to you, but I've got shit to do.
Yeah.
The captain wants me to do some stuff. And then this was this was wild. So then Scotty is surprised that Geordi told Picard the truth of how long it would take him to do something. Because he was like, oh, I used to give them like a completely different number. And then when I would do it sooner, everyone would be like, oh, what a miracle worker. And Geordi's like, what the fuck are you talking about, guy?
I mean, let's face it, TNG is a lot more straight than the original series was. Like, his comment about, like, starship captains are like children is very, like, it's kind of like a regressive viewpoint, but at the same time, it's very evocative of the period in which TOS was written and the way that things are presented in that universe.
Yeah, because TOS, I think, like, the sort of basis of it is cowboys in space.
Yeah.
So they were a little more fast and loose with the rules and stuff like that.
But also they went out of their way to make sure that, like, really nerdy stuff, I mean, it wasn't considered really nerdy stuff at the time because, like, nerd culture didn't really exist yet, but like that a lot of specifics just wouldn't be mentioned, or they would be inconsistent from episode to episode on purpose. Yeah. So they weren't trying to build like a canon the way that that TNG has spent much more time doing.
Yeah. And I think it might also be like just a little like cheeky nod to like the trope of when like I need like 3 hours to do it, and the captain's like, you have 5 minutes. Oh, you know, that sort of shit.
Maggie, this actual particular line was a direct reference to something that Scott had said in the original series. He did mention this about kind of fudging numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
To be fair, that happens in the real world all the time.
Oh, it does.
Like,
absolutely.
I know I saw this thread once about I think it was about computer programming or UI design or something like that. And the guy was like, yeah, we build in buffer time like nobody's business when we tell our bosses how long it'll take. Because first of all, they're going to demand it like faster than that. Second of all, like, no one has any idea how long anything takes. And in the industry, you're either overworked or underworked. So you just, like, you kind of have to lie in order to space out the work better. Yeah. But yeah, that is one of my favorite parts of the episode, is when he's like, oh, you didn't tell him the truth, did you?
So then Geordi's like, bro, listen, I've tried to be cool. I have a job to do. You're kind of in the way. Scotty, this makes him furious. And he just starts going off that, like, oh, he was doing Starfleet shit when Geordi's great-grandparents were in diapers. And I was like, so? Like your point is not relevant to the fact that Geordi needs to work and you're being disruptive. So he's like, oh, you doesn't understand this enterprise, the systems. I'm like, this guy is complaining about, like, he has no horse to stand on. No hill to stand on. High horse.
Well, that's That's the thing. It's not supposed to look like he has a high horse to stand on. It's the fact that he is somebody who's out of time, and they feel useless, and he wants to feel useful, and that's what the conflict of this part of the episode is.
Yeah, it just the way he starts yelling at Geordi though, and like that I didn't like because Geordi didn't do anything wrong. He's trying to help. He's got a job to do, and he just is like he makes it seem like what his thoughts and experience is more important than Geordi's job.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's like his feelings are valid, but there was no excuse to like sort of take it out on Geordi like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Yeah.
And there's not supposed to be, but that's also why they make up later.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's like a flaw of the episode. I'm just saying like
He's in the wrong. And
he's in the wrong in this situation.
And that's on purpose, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we cut to 10 forward, in which Scotty comes in and he's looking for a real drink, and we see a handsome bartender / waiter in a interesting checkered shirt and a smock. I don't know. I don't understand this outfit. But Scotty asks him for scotch, and he does not care for it. And of course, once again, has to remind everyone that he's old as fuck. So then Data steps in and he's like, "Oh, you're unaware of synthol." Wait,
Synthahol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Synthetic
and
alcohol.
it's so alcohol substitute its appearance, taste, and smell, but you don't get drunk off it. Like, honestly, then like, what's the
point?
what? Yeah. I don't drink alcohol for like chills.
Yeah.
Like I don't drink wine. I just like I'm a go big or go home drinker. It probably is not a good thing, but I don't do it often. That's why. Okay. Anyways, so Data was like, "Oh, I have something from like Guinan's Real Stuff stash." So Data then takes out a full bottle of green liquid and he smells it twice and he goes, It is green."
That's you're not supposed to pick up on that unless you remember it, but that is also a reference to something that happened in the original series.
Yeah. Cuz
Green drink.
yeah, Scotty I think I don't know if we've gotten to this part yet where Scotty's like, "Oh, I went to this place once and I got in a bit of trouble while I was there."
No, that's a bit later.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I think
he's telling Geordi in the corridor after they make up.
Yeah. But I think it's a reference to the same episode, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
So in any case,
I think it's "What Are Little Girls Made Of?" I think is the name of the episode.
Ew.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering the plot of that episode correctly, that's such a weird title.
It is a weird title.
Oh, because Star Trek has a really chill way of naming their episodes.
So basically, in the episode, I think they're on like shore leave or something, or they have a day off. Either way, Scotty goes to like basically a strip club. And the plot of the episode is like he goes to the strip club, and one of the sex workers ends up getting murdered, and he gets accused of it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he gets accused.
Turns
of her
into
murder.
an episode of SVU.
Yeah. So at one point in the episode, someone is asking Scotty what he's drinking, and he does the line that Data does, and he's like, "Well, it's green."
Yeah, Scotty likes the green drink, so much that he just takes the whole bottle with him, and he goes to the holodeck, and he wants to see his old Enterprise. So I honestly, at this point, I was like, I thought I'd like Scotty, and at this point, I didn't, because I was still angry at him for yelling at Geordi. I'm protective of Geordi. I don't know Scotty. He's not from part of my bridge crew.
He doesn't even go here.
He doesn't go here. Oh, God. So yeah, he's I wrote in my notes, I thought I would like Scotty, but now it feels like he would be one of those people complaining that millennials are killing an industry. Yeah, he like really thinks his way is the best way and the only way. So
And
he's on his. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, at least he has the excuse of being like, literally like, you know, ripped away for 75 years. Like he was literally just dropped into modern day. Well,
And
modern
honestly,
day in the universe.
He honestly adjusts fairly well considering.
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
Like he doesn't even sit and think about, oh my god, everyone I know is dead.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's the Kelsey Grammer of it all, right? Wait till someone tells him Spock's still alive.
Oh.
That would be probably nice for him to hear. Okay, so then Picard enters the holodeck, and Scotty gives Picard a drink, and he throws it back. Picard likes this drink. It's Aldebaran whiskey.
Aldebaran.
Whiskey, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's like, oh, from Guinan. Like, he's like, yeah, who do you think gave it to Guinan?
Yeah.
It was me.
For the record,
Picard's like,
that scene in 10 Forward with Data was originally written with Whoopi Goldberg in mind, but she wasn't available.
Okay, so, like, Picard's looking around, and he's like... he doesn't say this, but he can, like, from his face, he's looking around the, like, old bridge, and I'm just like, he is thinking, damn, our bridge is so much cooler. He's like, yours is literally in a museum. So Picard and Scotty reflect on their first ships and how they miss them. Scotty the Enterprise and Picard the Stargazer. And then Scotty says, it's like the first time you fall in love. You don't ever love a woman quite like that again. And Picard just, like, stares at him. And then I think there's, like, a beat or something. And then Scotty goes, to the Enterprise and the Stargazer. Old girlfriends will never meet again.
I mean, in Picard's case, he did get to meet her again. And she tried to kill his current girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Picard also is like, hey, what do you think of the Enterprise D? And Scotty's like, oh, I like it, but mine is better.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets, like, very introspective when he's drinking. He's like, I don't belong on this ship. I belong on my Enterprise. But also not really, because it's not real and I'm old.
Yeah.
So, Picard, Picard, he calls Geordi in, and I wrote, Picard, I guess, wants Scotty to feel needed, so he asks Geordi to get Scotty to help him, and then literally 1 second later, Picard's like, I want him to feel useful. I'm like, okay, so there we go. Nail on the head.
So fun fact about that previous scene, actually, it was a pain in the butt for them to put it together. Because
why?
that set doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It was torn up after the
one?
No, yeah, that was torn up after the end of the original series. That was the actual setup of the bridge on the original series. And what they did was the back panel that he sits at, like the computer panel that he sits at, they built that and they built the turbolift, and that was it. The rest of it is archive footage, and the chairs were on loan from a very dedicated fan who built them from scratch.
You know what? I kept thinking that it kind of looked like stuff was, like, green screen behind Picard. But I was like, maybe it's just... Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just, like, overthinking it. But, no, I guess I wasn't
correct.
that off.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I was like, I remember something about them, like, needing to do some TOS shit, and they had to get the bridge, or at least parts of the bridge, from, like a fan.
Yeah. What they were originally going to do was they were going to redress the movie bridge to look as much like the TOS bridge as possible. And then they thought about, okay, well, what if we can use TV magic to, like, do this cheaper, and it would look more authentic. And apparently they were like poring over schematics and things like that. I don't mean like, oh, this is the Bridge of the Enterprise schematics. I mean like set schematics and things like that they still had access to. They even found a couple of props buried in the Paramount lot that they were able to use for it. And because there's still a couple of things left, like the shimmering effect when Scotty beams in for the first time at his 75-year beam in. I don't know if you noticed, but they used the TOS effect for that. And apparently they had the what do you call it? The TOS mats for the shimmering effect just sitting in the backlot props.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, not mats, but it's a thing that they use where they overlay it. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it turned out pretty good though. Like
they were really excited to do it. Apparently, one of the people who worked on the original series called them up and said, "Look, that was almost distinguishable from the original, except you got the carpet wrong."
Indistinguishable.
Oh God, not the carpet.
Yeah. Well, no, the carpet in the episode is like kind of burgundy, and they're just like, "Nope, supposed to be like gray." Whoops.
I love it too because it like even though it's not like SD quality like TOS was, it's just like when you walk in there it feels so TOS like.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the lighting. I think it's just so much brighter and the colors. You know.
Yeah, it was really difficult for them to do the lighting. I won't go too much more into it because I mean we're interrupting Dory, but yeah. But the original series was very weird in the fact that it was one of the earliest shows that was filmed for color. And so they used like color gels on their lights to make things pop on purpose. And because of that, it was really difficult for them to figure out what the actual paint colors of the set were. So they were like guessing and making shit up as they went along.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually really cool.
Yeah. I thought you would enjoy that.
I didn't realize that Star Trek, that TOS was like one of the first shows to shoot in color. Like,
yeah, one of the earliest regular shows to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's why the show is so colorful. Because it's like every time like a new technology like gets onto the scene, people like really fucking run with it, right?
Yes.
So like they're like we're shooting in color, and it's the 60s too. The 60s style at the time was very like poppy and colorful, so they're like let's just fucking murder the screen with color.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. That's very neat. Okay, so they want Scotty to feel useful, so Picard wants for him to go down to access the records of the survey of the Dyson sphere. So he's like, great, I'll send Bartel. And Picard's like, actually, I will send you. And so Geordi's like, Jesus Christ, fine. Oh, but Picard also tries to make it really clear to Geordi that this is like a request, not like a mandatory thing. But like, you think he's gonna say no? Like, Picard, that's way to guilt him. He's like, feel free to decline. How is he supposed to decline this? Picard, how could you? So okay, they go to the spot where there's some kind of the ship, the Enterprise. I'm like, who? The Enterprise goes, like, they follow like a signal. I think it was like to the door, the portal part of it, and they're like, oh look, a door. And Riker's like, should we knock? I think it was Riker. And I was like, just kidding. Then a tractor beam starts to pull them into the sphere. Well, fuck. So yeah, they're just like being pulled right in and being pulled basically into the star. So, whoops. So now Geordi and Scotty are on the little ship, and he's like, Scotty's like, oh, all this stuff is old and obsolete, just like me.
Yeah, he's like a real downer.
Yeah, and Geordi's like, what? No, what are you even talking about? And honestly, to me, Geordi is the MVP of this episode.
Yeah.
And Geordi goes, just because something's old doesn't mean you throw it away. Thank you, Geordi.
Yeah.
So the Enterprise, they are basically going to hit the sun in 3 minutes. Again, I wanted to time this, but I was like, this would take me infinitely longer to do my notes. So, I did not. But JK, they're not actually going to hit the sun. They do some stuff, and now they're just orbiting the star, so temporarily okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Geordi and Scotty realize that the Enterprise is gone. Geordi suggests tracking them with their impulse ion trail if they can get the impulse engines online of this ship, not the Enterprise. Scotty's like, that's impossible. Let's do it. So the star in the sphere is very unstable, and it's like bursts of radiation and matter expulsions. And Data thinks that basically they triggered a series of automatic piloting beams designed to guide ships into the sphere. Which, like, honestly just makes me think it's like an evil... Like, it makes me really think Death Star. And the Death Star didn't quite do this. But it's literally like it makes me think that the Dyson Sphere is like alive and is just like, I'm hungry for a ship. Nom nom nom. Ship's in the vicinity. I'm going to bring it in. Nom nom nom. The Enterprise.
The idea was also famously done in Ringworld, if you've ever heard of it.
I've never heard of Ringworld.
No? Oh, okay.
I don't know what that
I've
is.
heard of Ringworld. I have no idea what it is.
It's a famous science fiction novel from the, it's more than a novel. It's a series of novels. No, God. There's, I can't remember. There were a bunch of sequel novels that came with it. I don't know. It came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got like big ass solar flares coming from the star. In 3 hours, the shields won't be able to protect the ship. And the solar flare will continue to grow over those 3 hours. Oh no! So Geordi and Scotty get the engines up and running, and the Enterprise gets shaken a lot, and it is terrible. I loved it. Data is trying to figure out how to like get them out. This is right from the episode. They thought there are communication aeroys? I don't know what I wrote.
Arrays.
Arrays.
Oh, that's what I wrote. Okay. My R's look like kind of L's. Okay. Arrays both the Enterprise and Scotty ships. Basically this is what they think happened for both the ships. So they thought there was like communication arrays they put forward. Both ships hailed the sphere, but that might be what activated these beams and what got them like brought down, basically. Mm-hmm. So Scotty's like, if we keep our distance from the sphere, say 500,000 kilometers, then when the hatch starts to close, we move in and we use the Janolan to jam the hatch open, hoping the Enterprise will escape. And then Geordi goes, you can't be serious. Uh-huh. And then I said in my head, because I completely forgot that's not the line, and I was like, I'm so dumb sometimes. So Jordy was like, you can't be serious. And then I'm like, I am serious, and don't call me serious. I'm completely forgetting the airplane line and fucking it up so hard. And I'm like, right? And I'm like, no, that's not what it is at all. I really thought I had something there for a second. I'm like, no, that's not the fucking line. It's not serious. It's surely.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Surely not.
Okay. Yeah. So, they do it. They get the thing open. They park sideways with the ship to keep it open with the force field, to keep the door open. And Geordi's like, Picard, bust ass, get the fuck out. So the Janolan is like breaking down. The Enterprise like basically has to plow through and destroy the Janolan to like get out. So they get like a hold on Scotty and Geordi, transport them to the Enterprise, like just in time for them to fire torpedoes at the Janolan, so the Enterprise can slide right through. And they made it out. Yay!
Hooray.
So, Geordi... Oh, okay. Now I remember. Okay, I wrote, Geordi is telling Scotty about the baby. And I was like, what baby? And then the next line, that thing with Dr. Brahms.
Oh,
It was.
the,
I
the
remember.
space
Yeah.
baby, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that one. And okay, Geordi then says, and I quote, "It was suckling power directly from the ship." That is fusion reactors. Just Geordi, did you? Suckling is like such a like.
An excellent
Ugh.
word.
Yeah.
It's a. Ugh.
I mean, it's an accurate word, but it is gross.
Yeah. So Scotty tells Geordi to enjoy his time as chief engineer because it doesn't last forever. I'm like, okay, that's a bummer. And now, surprise, it's the whole bridge crew and Troy with a new haircut. Okay. And they're giving him a shuttle because they blew up his ship. Except that wasn't his ship. He was just a passenger. He didn't own
that's
the
true.
Janolan. He was just on it. That wasn't his ship. So this kind of, they're giving him a shuttle is a kind of bullshit. I mean,
That's
I guess it's
fine.
fine if that's what they want to do. But they're not replacing something that was his. The Janolan was not his.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
definitely an oversight.
he lived there for 75 years.
I mean,
But he didn't own it. It's not his ship.
It is just a thinly veiled excuse to give him a shuttle.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Scotty goes, says to Geordi, a good crew. And then Geordi says, yeah, they are. And Scotty says, and a fine ship, a credit to her name. But I've always found that a ship is only as good as the engineer who takes care of her. And from what I can see, the Enterprise is in good hands. I was like, ooh, yeah, ooh. Yeah. Okay, and then it's done. So, not my, I guess because, like, I don't, like, okay, I don't know if I don't care about Scotty. Okay, he was fine, whatever. But, like, I guess because I don't have any kind of emotional connection to him because I haven't seen TOS, like, I don't care.
That's fine. The episode
Like, I didn't want
is
anything
not
to happen. I didn't want him to get hurt,
Dory,
and, like, I
Dory.
didn't want anything to happen to him. But, like, I don't.
It's fine. The
Meh.
episode is not particularly deep. It's not trying to be particularly deep. What I would call this is fan service done well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
And they
in
knew
my...
it was fan service. That was the
Yeah.
intention behind it. And that's okay because it's never going to a point where it's like, oh, great, they're only doing this for fans. Because it's still enjoyable for a casual watcher as well. It may not be the best thing you've
Yeah.
ever seen. And that's totally fine. It's a solid hour of television, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I think that it has enough, it's not very deep, but I think it has enough depth that it goes beyond, this is just an episode as an excuse to have, a TOS actor on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because-
we see nostalgia bait stuff happen all the time right
Yeah.
now.
They-
It's very in.
They basically did, what all the best, TOS post original run did, which is focus on them getting older and them aging.
Yeah.
Which is that's sort of the main thrust of the episode is how to deal with now that you're, you were once super competent and even maybe the best in your field or whatever. And now you've fallen behind, and how frustrating that is, and to feel like you're no longer useful and that people don't have time for you anymore.
Oh, I just remembered. I didn't mention this, but they give him the shuttle so he can go actually retire on that other colony. And so his whole thing of being useful was moot because he's not being an engineer. He's still going to retire.
No,
so they're
he's not. That's the whole point at the end. He says
I thought he was going to retire. I thought he was going to the colony still.
No, he said he might end up there eventually, but not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so then I misunderstood then.
Yeah,
because he was just going to the thing.
Yeah, because they give him the shuttle just to give it to him, right? Like, no expectations. And then Geordi asks, like, oh, so what are you going to do? Like, you still going to go to the colony or whatever? And he makes something like, maybe someday, but that, like, that place is for people who are, like, I forget exactly what he says, but it's like, oh, that's for people that are, like, old and at the end of their time, and that's not me yet. So he's going to go off and have his own adventures.
I have no recollection of this, but I will absolutely take your word for it because I'm not known for my memory. Wow, okay. So then, like, now I wonder, what the fuck is he going to do now? I feel like he's almost got to go to school or some kind of tutoring to learn all the new tech shit if he wants to, like, get into the engineering stuff again.
Yeah. He'll just go on YouTube. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he might have, like, a future in, like, maintaining the old ships, or, like,
or sitting in a museum and telling people about his experiences.
And he could even be a professor. Like, his knowledge isn't the most up to date, but he still has a lot to offer. It's could even be like a history course of, like, this is how it was and blah 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 and that sort of shit. I don't know.
I feel like he also would need to learn all the history that happened in 75 years.
Yeah.
God, that's such a fucking bummer, though. And I can't believe he adjusted. Like, his focus was like, oh, I'm not useful anymore. Not like every single person I know is basically dead and I lost 75 fucking years. Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done that before.
Yeah.
I know.
In some fairness, Scotty's from the TOS era. They did a lot of fucky shit with time travel and all that kind of stuff, so it's like
time jump is no problem.
Yeah,
that's old hat.
It's fucking par for the course. And it didn't sound like he had much family or anything, like, at the time that he, like, had to stick himself in the transporter.
Yeah. Well,
which is also a huge bummer.
Yeah, Jesus. I hope he was, like, basically asleep. I hope he, like, didn't have to think about it and didn't have to, like... I hope he wasn't conscious and, like, have to really, be like,
he was not
shit,
conscious.
I'm in the...
Yeah.
Good. I hope he hasn't, like, he just was, like... It was, like, 1 second later.
Yeah, that seems like it, because he...
That's what the implication is, yeah.
Yeah, he has to ask, like, how long he's been there for, so...
Well... Yeah, he's not my favorite. I don't think I would ever watch this episode again. It's not like the worst episode, but I have, like...
There's no reason to rewatch it.
Yeah. It has no nostalgia for me. And in general, the whole, like, Dyson sphere thing was, like, real loosey-goosey to me also. Like, there's so many questions about it. Why is it there? Who made it? Why did they make it? Did they know the star was already like fucking up when they were building it? Or were they building it to, like, cover the star when it was? Would this like hold the star in if it exploded? What? How did they build this? Why are they bringing ships into the? Why are they trying to feed the Dyson sphere? Why do they need to bring things in? Are they trying to feed the star?
So that one I can answer. It wasn't like...
Oh, okay.
It's basically an automated system for when ships needed to enter into the sphere. So basically, if someone was flying around and like, oh, I'm going home back inside the sphere... They just had an automated system set up so that it would automatically, like, pull the ship in, so that you can, like...
But they wouldn't, like, disable it? Because this just feels like
maybe they're all dead and they can't disable it.
Well, maybe they should have done it before they died.
All died?
Great, yeah. Thank you, Lord.
Because... Because, man, like, how many other... Like, let's be honest, how many other ships have probably been caught up in this these beams and like killed by these stars now, because like as somebody said earlier, this wasn't like off the beaten path. So like how many other ships just have now disappeared because this one was gone for 75 years. They found it. It was just hanging out on the outside, but that's one ship. How many got sucked in and were just like murdered by star? So that's upsetting. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like they did it on purpose, because it seems like they offer no explanation in the episode, but what it seems like is that whatever the society was probably was eliminated like fairly swiftly, where like
the star.
No, because the star was still, I think the star was about to go nova, but it hadn't yet.
No, it wasn't about to go nova. It was like it had stability issues.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it was putting off way more radiation than it should have been.
Okay. So maybe they just all died of radiation poisoning.
Yeah, could be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of like the idea that the sphere was like sentient and was like
nom nom
eating ships. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were just like, ooh, there's a ship. Nom 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 nom. Another one bites the dust. Just like an evil Dyson sphere. Oh my! It's the Death Star. Yeah, that actually would be very funny. Not like rip to whoever the Dyson sphere is killed, but like it honestly at this point it does not feel that far out to guess that it would be alive.
Yeah, I mean that's a very Star Trek thing to happen. So yeah, you're not wrong.
Maybe in my headcanon this episode it is alive and it's just like a murderous big ass sphere that just wants to eat ships and people. It's the Audrey 2 of space.
Well, as we like to say here, all headcanons are valid. All right, so let's move on to favorite moments and lines.
I liked Data's it is green.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing Picard get excited about something when he's fanboying. I liked that 20-second long shot of the Enterprise moving. Oh, I actually did like the shot though of when the Enterprise was being like sucked in into the sphere, and then when they flew out sideways, I liked that. And I guess that's like it. I like Geordi's line, just because something's old doesn't mean you throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. This is like, yeah, I think I'm grasping at straws at this point.
Yeah. I really love the part where Scotty's like, "Oh, you didn't tell him how long it'd actually take, did you?"
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that was like really funny and cute and like, I don't know, just kind of a really neat window into like how differently like Geordi and Scotty like do things. As far as like, I did enjoy this episode in general because I thought they made good use of the original series actor. Like, I feel like you could have done this story like with a different character and it wouldn't need much changing, but him being the character doesn't detract from it either. I thought it was like just a good balance of like, yeah, like it makes sense that this would be Scotty, but also it's not just pure fan service. I
think my favorite part is also you didn't tell him how long it would really take, did you? But I really this episode's weird for me because like I have such a problem with nostalgia bait in media, but this isn't that. Like, it is fan service, and that's fine. nowadays, fan service is so fucking overdone in so much media. It's to the point where we are regularly bringing back old actors from only like tangibly related, completely different iterations of the same properties, and we've stopped like. We've stopped really taking it all that seriously, and that it's just kind of happening all over the place now. It's happening in like $200 million movies constantly. The fucking Spider-Man one where they're just like, how many Spider-Man characters from other Spider-Man movies can we get? It's just, it's so frustrating. But this is like a breath of fresh air in that regard, in that they really just, they don't do it for the sake of doing it. They do it because they wanted to take it somewhat seriously and deliver a nice homage to their legacy of what they were building a franchise around.
Yeah.
And I think this really stands out the most in what I found out about a little tidbit behind the scenes. But they were going around the writer's room and be like, okay, here's our idea. It's based on a pitch from something else. It was a pitch of somebody stuck in the what do you call it, in the transporter, and they ended up just using that and like nothing else from that pitch. And they handed it over to Brandon Braga, and he said, "No, I can't do this episode justice. This is not my story to write." And they took it over to Ronald D. Moore, and he said, "Yeah, I'm in 100%. Give that to me. I'll give you gold." And I mean, Ron Moore is kind of like notorious within Star Trek for being like really, really respectful of the franchise. As he went in through Star Trek, he became known as the Klingon guy, and you'll see that coming up in a few episodes, I think. And yeah, I really appreciate how that bit of behind the scenes information that I learned really added to like how I feel about the episode, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was long-winded.
Nice.
Sorry.
No, not at all.
Yes.
All right. Well, in that case, let's move on to predictions for the next episode. So the next episode is called Schisms.
What?
Yeah.
Schisms?
Schisms, yeah.
I hate it.
And in this episode, Riker and several other members of the crew are dealing with mysterious lack of sleep.
Oh no. Mm-hmm. Oh god. Okay.
Like mysterious as in like they go to sleep but they're never rested.
I almost feel like we've done this before.
Yeah.
Isn't there an episode where they're like really tired or some shit?
Yeah, there's it's the darkness and the moon or whatever the
Oh, they can't sleep.
Yeah.
Okay,
in that one they weren't able to dream or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that one. Okay.
With Troy floating in like the green sky thing.
It was spooky, scary.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can sleep, but they're not rested. Okay, maybe I'm gonna assume it's to do with bad dreams. Mm-hmm. Like maybe they go through some kind of like, okay, I guess it can be one of two things. Mm-hmm. Where either they go to a planet and they like maybe are exposed to some kind of like not sex pollen, but like another kind of like pollen that will like give them like nightmares. Mm-hmm. When they close their eyes, all they see is like terrible shit happening. Or alternatively, they're going through some kind of like time warp thing that like also just won't let them sleep. Like that keep just giving them bad dreams. And so, but like upsettingly bad dreams.
Mm. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you'd like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.